Hi, this is Jeff Lesher with What's the Point? And this, barring some crazy circumstance next week, is my last What's the Point of the year. Yay! 2020, bye-bye. And maybe what's the point, bye-bye. I hope that part's not true, because among the things for which I am most grateful in a professional context, it is the fact that hundreds of people every week, in some cases, and certainly over the course of a month, a quarter, a year, are taking a few minutes out of their day, out of their busy schedule, and listening in, and hopefully, and I have had some feedback that suggests this is true, and I'd love more, hopefully taking away something that they can immediately and consistently apply to be even better. That is always my commitment. I've been able to add to that the couple times a month longer form podcast opportunity to explore areas about the future of work in our podcast, Inevitable, the Future of Work. That's at inevitablefutureofwork.com. And we have some great guests already lined up for early in 2021, including a guy talking about caregivers and how employers can better support caregivers, and some staggering statistics about how many of us are unpaid caregivers to children, to parents, to special needs children, to a number of other circumstances. We are going to explore well-being from a financial perspective. The financial well-being of your employees is a key issue, and we'll be having a podcast released, and I referred to this before and I want to mention it again, that we are going to be talking to our friend and colleague Andrew Friedman about his book Thrive, which will be released on January 26th, and we're hoping, we don't know this for sure, but we're hoping to do a live Q&A with Andrew as well on a platform like Facebook Live or Instagram Live, something like that. So stay tuned for that. But what's the point for this week? It's really the point for the year moving ahead. And part of it is you got to believe what you see. We've been through an interesting, not just year, but few years in which the term unbelievable, as one example, is really outmoded, because when you see something demonstrated over and over, which could include things like crazy baseless statements, total lack of loyalty, meanness, and the list goes on and on. And these are things that have been evidenced by public figures in a number of settings with a number of responsibilities, up to and including the President of the United States. In my opinion, this is an objective truth, that when you say things like, I got more votes than any presidential candidate in history, except for the guy I ran against who got more votes than me by several million, and he got the most votes of any presidential candidate in history in the same election, but I didn't lose. That's not true. That's a lie. That's what moms and dads call it. That's a lie. And if somebody lies a lot, it's not unexpected or at all unbelievable that they would lie again. If they treat you like garbage, then the likelihood is A, they're going to continue to treat you like garbage, and B, they're likely to treat other people like garbage. So they may not be the kind of person with whom you want to associate, and certainly in whom you should invest. And the great news is you don't have to. There are so many great business and organizational leaders out there, people who are truthful, people who are honorable, people who are deeply committed to making a positive difference, especially as it affects other people, not benefits themselves. And they're allowed to keep their own benefits in mind, but it's not the driver of all that they do, and it's often not even the driver of what they choose to do. We have an organizational leader who considered his interests in restructuring his business, but he took a lot less money in the near term, making a bet on his people and the company that he built, that they'll make a lot more, all of them will make a lot more in the future. I have the privilege of serving on the advisory board of another company that's a former client of ours, the CEO of which has taken any number of personal risks, putting his own money at stake. And now he has significantly increased the value of his business and the footprint that it occupies and the impact that it is able to have now and will have in the future. And I've seen the change in him, and I've seen the change in so many people that work with him. There's so many stories like that. There's so many great people. There's so many great organizations. Find one if you're not at one. And if you are at one, recognize that you're in a special place with special people experiencing a special moment. In my career so far, I've had the great fortune, and that's an understatement, to work with some amazing people and have multiple, what we used to call at a former company of mine, career bests, when you're in the zone and it just feels great to do what you're doing. And I'm in that situation now. We can all find ourselves there. Part of it is a choice. I told you guys a story a long time ago about my mom when she was a deli manager at Safeway and how she committed herself so fully to that organization and serving her customers. She never dreamed of slicing cheese for a living, but she made it a special place for people to come. And when she left, her absence was felt, but when she was there for about 18 years, her presence was felt. And that's what we should all aspire to have joy and purpose in whatever work that we choose to do. And if we don't, we should choose to do it somewhere else. We've learned a lot. We've learned that we can be accountable without being under the same roof, that we can be productive without being in the office, that you can often do at least as good a work, if not better work, without wearing any shoes, if that's your choice, and that you need to find ways to make yourself available and enhance your commitment and be more intentional about the way you communicate and connect when you are working from a distance. So there's something that you always have to give back in order to get out of the circumstance what you desire and, frankly, what's required. And ultimately, that is a construct within organizations that we have so much room to get better at. And this ties to the book Thrive that Andrew wrote and to a lot of the work that we do when we think about the primary takeaway from 2020, which is the imperative of diversity, equity, and inclusion, that we have to have organizations that reflect our communities better. That's diversity. We have to have an open mind and not just a tolerance for, but a celebration of the differences that make us better. That's inclusion and equity. We have to take the obstacles out of the way so that people can compete on a level, fair playing field. And a big part of that is being clear, having established criteria for success in roles and in the organization in which those roles exist. And we do that work, and you can do that work, and we can help you do that work if that's something you're interested in. But I'm not trying to pitch you on that as much as the idea and the commitment that DE and I are not just initials, that diversity is different but related to inclusion, is related to equity. And there are organizations that have signed up for billions of dollars of effort in this regard, and they don't necessarily have a clear plan for putting that money to work and holding themselves accountable, as Coca-Cola was reported as having experienced a challenge with making a tremendous commitment to diversity, making significant progress towards diversity, and then falling off the wagon. Like, we will return or revert to form. There are things that are easier for us to do, and we do at the expense of the organization, the people we serve, the communities we serve. We can do better, and we need to keep working our butts off to do better, because we can't be as good as possible without the beauty of the things that make us different, contributing to the reason that we exist. That's the point. The reason that this exists is so that I can reach out to you and hopefully leave something in your head that will help you be that much better at what you do and feel that much better about who you are and raise others up in the process, because That's the point.